Paris, 1900. The city of light at the dawn of a new century. The Belle Époque, the beautiful era. A golden age of art, innovation, and joie de vivre that would define modern culture. For 2 decades, from 1890 to 1914, Paris blazed as the cultural capital of the world. Electric lights replaced gas lamps. The automobile challenged the horse carriage. Art Nouveau transformed architecture. And in cafes from Montmartre to Montparnasse, artists were inventing the 20th century. Today, using period photographs and artworks, we resurrect this magical moment. Welcome to Paris at the Belle Époque. Baron Haussmann had transformed medieval Paris into a modern metropolis. His grand boulevards, completed in the 1870s, defined the Belle Époque cityscape. Wide avenues lined with elegant apartment buildings, their uniform cream-colored facades creating architectural harmony. Horse-drawn carriages still dominated the streets, but by 1900, the first automobiles were appearing, strange mechanical contraptions that sputtered and backfired, terrifying the horses. Elegant Parisians promenaded along the sidewalks. Women in elaborate dresses with impossibly narrow waists, their hair piled high under enormous hats. Men in top hats and morning coats, walking canes in hand. The cafes spilled onto the pavements. This was the Paris that drew artists and writers from across the world. Montmartre, the bohemian heart of Paris. At its center stood the Moulin Rouge, the Red Windmill, opened in 1889. This was the temple of Parisian nightlife, where society mingled with artists, where the cancan was perfected into an art form. The dancers, La Goulou, Jane Avril, Yvette Gilbert, were as famous as any actress. Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec made the Moulin Rouge immortal with his posters and paintings. Inside, champagne flowed, dancers kicked impossibly high, and Paris forgot its inhibitions. The red windmill on the roof, illuminated by electric lights, became the symbol of Belle Époque pleasure. The Eiffel Tower. In 1889, for the Exposition Universelle, Gustave Eiffel constructed what would become the symbol of Paris. At 300 meters, it was the world's tallest structure. Critics called it an eyesore, a metal monstrosity defacing elegant Paris. But by 1900, the tower had won hearts. It dominated the skyline, visible from across the city. Its iron lattice work, considered ugly by some, was celebrated by others as pure engineering beauty. At night, electric lights made it glow against the dark sky. The Belle Époque was the age when Paris learned to love its tower. Climb the hill of Montmartre, away from elegant boulevards, and you entered Bohemia. Here, rents were cheap, wine was cheaper, and artists gathered in cafes to argue about art. Le Lapinagel, Le Chat Noir, Café de la Nouvelle Athènes. In these smoke-filled rooms, Impressionism gave way to Fauvism, then Cubism. A young Spaniard named Pablo Picasso arrived in 1900, taking a studio in the ramshackle Batolivoire building. Toulouse-Lautrec held court. Modigliani sketched portraits for drinks. The conversations in these cafes would reshape art forever. This was the laboratory of modernism. 1900. Paris hosted the Exposition Universelle, a world's fair that would be remembered as the peak of the Belle Époque. 50 million visitors came to see the marvels of the new century. The Grand Palais and Petit Palais, built for the exposition, showcased Art Nouveau at its height. The first Paris metro line opened, with Hector Guimard's iconic entrances looking like plants growing from the pavement. The Trocadero Palace hosted nations from across the world. Electric lights illuminated everything. Moving walkways transported visitors. This was Paris declaring that the future had arrived, and it was beautiful. The Seine remained the heart of Paris life. Bateaux mouches ferried tourists past the great monuments. Bouquinists sold books from their green boxes along the quays. Washerwomen worked on floating laundries. Fishermen cast lines from stone embankments. And lovers walked the riverbanks, the most romantic promenade in the world. The Belle Époque Seine was working river and pleasure ground all at once. Shopping was being invented. Le Bon Marché, the world's first department store, had opened in the 1850s, but by 1900 it had become a palace of consumption. Émile Zola based his novel Au Bonheur des Dames on it. The grand staircase, the iron and glass atrium, the elaborate displays, shopping became theater. Women could spend hours browsing, trying on clothes, examining luxuries. The Art Nouveau decorations, the electric lights, the pneumatic tubes carrying payments, everything was designed to entrance and seduce the customer. This was Paris at the Belle Époque, a moment of light between centuries, the last burst of optimism before the Great War would shatter everything. For 2 golden decades, Paris believed that progress, art, pleasure, and beauty could coexist, that technology would liberate, not destroy, that the future would be better. In August 1914, the lights would go out across Europe, but for a brief, shining moment, they had burned brighter in Paris than anywhere else. The Belle Époque ended, but Paris would never forget this golden age, and neither should we.